Let's see if I got it right this time. That would be Amir first. But hey, miracles can happen. Hello. Hello, everyone.
How's everybody doing?
We're here. We've got Twitch up and functioning, unlike last week.
That's crazy. That's a good start. At least we're going. And we have our guests here. They were here last week, full disclosure, but we pulled the plug when Twitch pulled the plug.
Yeah. Did we ever find out what happened there? Was it just
broke.
hiccup?
Yeah, it just broke, and then they fixed it because it broke.
Fair enough. Okay. Anyways, this is Your Brand, Your Business, and today we're going to be talking, since, we're in the month of May, going to be talking about balancing charity fundraising and, actually earning income and supporting yourself. I'm Galen Herbstay-Cortina. I'm a financial planner, so I talk about this kind of stuff with clients. And Noah, who are you?
I am Noah, and I'm a lawyer, but I'm a cool lawyer. And I guess, is this the part where I do the disclaimer? I'm going to go ahead and do it. So basically, since I'm a lawyer, I have to tell you that everything I'm saying on this show today is for informational purposes only. I am a lawyer, but this does not constitute legal advice because I'm not yet your lawyer. Emphasis on the yet. So basically, your circumstances are almost always going to be different. So feel free to reach out if you have questions. But in general, this is good information.
I love the disclaimer. Legal and tax information is not legal and accounting advice. It's so straightforward.
Exactly, but I make it very difficult.
Yep. All right, Taffy, give us a bit about you.
I'm a real old guy who plays video games on Twitch. I shaved my head because my wife and I screwed up our isolation haircut. I've always wanted to see what I'd look like with it gone, and it's aged me up a lot, and I'm just kind of owning it, and I'll bick it once before it goes away. And,
have you seen Brian Kibler's photos from quarantine where he's like growing in the beard and stuff like that? It's like, oh, you do look like you're almost 40 now, as opposed to before where you could have easily gone for late 20s.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people that have popped in over the course of years and years of streaming, and most of them have come in and said like, oh man, I wouldn't have guessed. I would have said like early 30s or maybe even late 20s, but now I've shaved this off and it's just like, oh man, you left, did you leave the Elks to come down here and stream today?
We have,
I play The Binding of Isaac in the morning, Monday through Saturday, and then the afternoons have typically been what my certifiably insane chat has paid me to play, which is supposed to be recently Red Dead Redemption, but we've hit hiccups with Call of Duty Warzone and just Isaac days running long. So I mostly just show up and appease what would be an angry mob every day if they weren't so nice. So it's a tenuous balance that I strike.
That's the nicest thing you've said about your chat in a decade.
I'm terrified of them, so I have to work the compliments up.
All right, Sam, who are you?
I'm Sam.
Ta-da!
I just freshly turned 18.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh gee, but it's not that kind of stream, guys.
Noah. Anyway, I'm not 18. I am of an age, and I am a variety caster. I like to do a lot of cozy stuff, family friendly. I know a lot of adults stream to get away from their children, but I'm literally the same on stream as I am off stream, so there's no getting away from this. I am your mama too.
She is stream
I'm
mama.
A cool mom.
As her Animal Crossing passport says, she is internet mama.
Actually, I just changed it. Now it's dad joking mama.
Oh, that's even better.
Oh,
cool.
Way better. Like I said, I'm a cool mom.
Very nice.
Yeah, be mean to me actually, so that I can like. Because
Toughen
evidently I just got eaten up about being nice.
Yeah.
What?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Other show. Anyway.
So we're here today, as Galen said, to talk about how to balance charity and fundraising with stream income. Oftentimes, one of the questions that we hear, especially me as a lawyer, when I encourage people to fundraise for St. Jude is, well, I rely on my streaming for my income. And so if my viewers are giving money to St. Jude, they're not giving money to me, right? And so we're here today to dispel that myth.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the first things that we'd just like to know is, for all four of us, what was the first time that you actually did a fundraising stream? Because for me, it was just basically last year, mostly because I was never stream, and so. But yeah, Noah.
For me, the first time that I streamed, well, so
Nate, sorry.
Nate. So not in chat has full of jokes. But anyway, so the first time that I streamed was quite frankly last year for St. Jude Play Live in May. And I turned on stream, hit go, loaded up marbles on stream. And I don't rely on streaming for an income, fortunately, because I would be bad at it. I don't have the talents that these two have. Hey, you're not supposed to agree with me there, Galen. Thanks. But
What about Sam and Galen?
yeah.
I'm not laughing at Dak. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and so, but I still, it was really important for me to fundraise, and I found that, you know, coming from nothing, where I'm not relying on it from income, people are still willing to give. It's not a, you know, a zero. It's not that money that was going somewhere is going somewhere else now. It's money that was going nowhere is going somewhere. And so that was important for me. You know, everybody here in chat probably knows, but last year at the St. Jude Play Live Summit was my first summit, and I got up on stage and I shared my own personal experience with cancer, which is that I have it. By the way, in case you're in chat and didn't know that, there you go. And so fundraising for St. Jude is very personal for me, because the work that St. Jude does saves lives, including potentially my own someday.
That's making me emotional.
Yeah, good. And so, and so
You're still
for me,
playing that card.
yeah, yep, I'm gonna keep playing that card. And so it was very personal. It was very emotional to hop on stream and do it. And fortunately, I had good friends, like, you know, quite frankly, Ryan here, Taffy, supported my entire stream. I couldn't have done it without him. So it was an incredible experience.
Anyone want to follow that?
Skip me.
I'll do it. I'm not scared of him and his cancer story.
You've got your own.
For crying out loud. All right. Yeah, it's fine. I've heard it. I don't know how it ends. I haven't read ahead, but I'm hoping for a happy end. Mine was with Nate here in chat. I was working it was at a point in time in my life where streaming wasn't paying all my bills, but it was the most significant revenue stream that I had coming in by far. I was trying to help Nate at the time with Pretzel and 99 Lives, and at, I think, PAX South, we got put together at a table at a big dinner with Zach and the guys from St. Jude, and Nate worked his networking social butterfly magic that only he can, and got us both invited to the Play Live Summit. I guess it'd be 2 years ago now. And I'd never fundraised before a day in my life, and I committed to going to it about a half year in advance because Zach was so kind and wanted us there, and it was going to be more like a, hey, Pretzel is going to be here as, you know, a brand that supports people who support St. Jude. We're just happy to be along for the ride. And I felt like a total poser because I got there and I'd never fundraised a day in my life. And of course, they treat you like royalty when you're there because most people have earned their way into a seat. And so you go there, and it's impossible to go there and not have your soul fundamentally altered by just the humanity that you see around you. But I came back and had to fundraise, and the thing that got me was, and I mean, I guess we can kind of get into this later, but like, I was in a weird spot. I was in the weird spot that we're going to talk about today, where it was the first couple of months where my stream paid for all my bills, and just as my personal brand was gaining momentum, this like soulful obligation that I felt, where I felt obliged to fundraise for St. Jude. It was instantly the first couple of months where my community said, yeah, no, you're just full-time now, go. And then I had to turn right back around after years of not making ends meet and instantly say, okay, well, now I want you to give thousands of dollars to St. Jude. Yeah, but that was my first charity stream, and we've done a handful since then. But yeah, it's nerve-wracking, and I'm sure, I guess we'll get into all that. But yeah, 2 years ago, St. Jude won me over just by showing me what they do. So
yeah, I my first one that I remember like fully. I'm not sure if I raised for charity before this one, but I was actually raising for the American Heart Association with my son, because he does the Kids Heart Challenge with their school. And he being that very overprotective mother was not okay with door to door.
No.
So I was like, I have an outreach. So this was 3 years ago. And Leif and I sat down. I talked to him, of course, about like online stuff first, made sure he understood. And then I was like, okay, what would you like to do if somebody could give you $5 or $10? And there were things like dancing or like a specific dance move, or because he had just started hip hop.
Oh, cool.
And so he was like ready to move. And that kid raised $1,000.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow.
in just like 2 hours because he couldn't stream long. And
Huh.
his school, the teachers get very happy now whenever he's in their classroom
Yeah.
because they know their class is going to be on top. He's been #1 3 years in a row now.
Man.
Wow.
Raising. Yeah. So he did 1,000, then he did 1,500, and this year he did like 2,200 or something.
Whoa.
Always killing
Demon
it.
me. Internet
Yeah.
mama helping out the kid.
But my thing was, I want my son to understand the importance of charity and to have a heart of giving. And so it was hard for me because 3 years ago is definitely different now financially. But 3 years ago, we struggled a lot, California's expensive, y'all. When one of us is just trying to go for a dream and the other's like, you can do it, kind of. It took a lot on me to set out these times to raise, and then it wasn't until last year that I went to the St. Jude Summit, because the year before that I had just given birth, so I couldn't go.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
And I raised a little bit for St. Jude through Guardian Con that year, but whenever it comes to raising for me, or at least at that time, I guess still now, I'm very particular on how long, because since my community tends to be a lot younger. And with that, I know that not a lot of money comes in. So I don't want anybody to feel pressure if I keep pushing this charity, but I'll do like little bits here and there. I'm not somebody that can do like a whole month or sometimes even a whole week. It's maybe like a couple days, and that's about it. So it's not even just the financial part on me. It's more so I know the financial part on them is different. So
Yeah, that's an element
That's
of
a-
stewardship with
yeah.
your community, which is incredible.
That's a really, really relevant point.
yeah.
And
What about
knowing-
you?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Galen, what about like you in terms? Did we talk about your first time yet?
It was St. Jude fundraising last year. I don't have any balancing to do. I am technically a Twitch affiliate, but I don't think I've ever gotten a payout because I don't
Talk to Noah.
stream. It's the $100 threshold. I've never exceeded that because I don't stream much. Basically,
Hear that, guys? Go just drop bits
no.
like crazy.
Do
in
not
his
waste.
channel.
No. I've been doing periodic St. Jude fundraising streams. Don't waste your money on me. Give it to St. Jude because that would be. It would literally not go anywhere. You would have paid the premium to Twitch to get bits, and then it would go right back to Twitch because I'm not going to hit the $100. I have no point even where I am, but it's not near the $100 threshold. But what was that?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Well, and also just frankly, I don't want it because then it's extra complication for the tax side for me in terms of like, what's this other business, and then do I have to declare it on my Form ADV and all of this kind of thing? It's an outside business activity, so I'd much rather not.
so. Anyways, about your first time streaming, this is not a tax show.
Well, yeah. Oh, we do want to talk about that piece a bit, but I heard both Taffy and Sam say that they started doing fundraising before they were personally just sort of tossing disposable income out the window kind of a thing, right? So, and you both mentioned, of course, some fear, potentially anxiety around that. What kinds of things helped you balance still paying your own bills versus doing this fundraising that sounds like it was quite meaningful, either of you?
Blind faith. Is blind faith the strategy?
Yeah.
Because that was it. Yeah, I was like, so I was in the whole trying to get my hands around helping launch a music label and a music streaming service and trying to stream full time, and meeting about 50 or 60% of my family's monthly burn, we had some savings put away from essentially an old settlement that between my wife's illness and just living just whittled away. And we were on what I called our slow descent into bankruptcy. Like it wasn't that we just cut the chute and we're falling BR style towards the deck. But we were on a descent where we were just kind of gliding into just having nothing. But I don't know, my wife, being the fool that she is, just has this like blind trust that I'm in here doing something each day, and that I was building towards something larger, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm off to go play Dota, suckers, bye, and then I shut the door behind me for 10, 12, 11 hours at a stretch.
He did that a few times, though.
There were a couple of days where that happened, where I just didn't know what in the world I was supposed to be doing, so I just kind of came in here and hid. But yeah, that was really it. There was a switch that flipped with the community, and I didn't feel deserving of the number that they gave right at the point. Like, I didn't walk in and preach like, hey guys, I'm going broke, because I really try. If I'm having struggles, that's on me to fix. If I'm really flush, that's for me to keep to myself. And I try to keep the performance aspect of it on a nice even keel, so I don't parade that kind of information out. So I hadn't mentioned, it was really all happenstance that it all came together, and I don't know what did it, and I didn't change anything. But it was real nerve-wracking to go to St. Jude and then come back and say, well, shoot, I feel obliged, like cosmically obliged to do this, but what happens if I undercut this newfound success that I've been chasing for years? And I just kind of said, you know what, I don't know. I didn't do anything intentional to trip the wire. So I'm not going to take credit for that and pretend like it's mine to be taken away. And that's kind of a big thing, as far as like, I control what happens when the camera's on and the lights are up. But I don't pretend that I have control over doing well or not doing well. That's mostly out into the cosmos. And so I went for the full month the first 2 times. This year, I think I'm going to go much closer to what Sam's doing, where it's just, I'm going to cherry pick some days. My crowd skews older. The amount of money they have set aside is earmarked for this already. So I only really need a couple of days. It's almost like when you do like limited runs for shirts or merchandise or something, you get a big push up front, you get a big push on the back end, and there's a lot of slack in the middle. So in this instance, I think, you know, what we'll do is we'll do that and we'll cherry pick a couple of days and go. It's a weird time to ask for money for anything right now.
Yes.
So for anybody who has it, we'll do it and we'll go. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of said, listen, you know, you guys have been so good to us. We're going to do this because we feel like we owe, and we're going to really lean into it. And I did the whole month of May, and they just refused. They refused not to give, and they refused to let us sink, to punish us, because that's what some people feel like. Oh, I'm going to do a good thing and I'm going to get punished for it. My community wouldn't do either, so they did over $10,000 the first May that we raised for St. Jude, and also made sure that our bills were paid. So thankfully, more money went to St. Jude than went to me, but I also hit my burn rate for the month as well, and it was just blind faith. That was really it. There was no calculations. Like math, cold hard black and white math. I shouldn't have done it, but I felt obliged to do something good because good was happening to me. And Twitch as a community has a tendency to reward that kind of behavior, especially if they sense sincerity in it. They'll reward you for it if you do it for shallow, you know, reasons. I don't care why you give money to St. Jude. You can give money for whatever reason you want to St. Jude, but Twitch as a community loves a cause, and they tend to not let people who are doing things, quote unquote, the right way, go punished for it.
I will kind of chime in here, because it's no secret that Taffy and I have been friends for a decade and a half, a long time. And so I remember back then, you know, it was literally like a light switch flipped in his community, because it went from, you know, we were having daily calls about what we could do to help and figure this out, to all of a sudden he's fundraising and hitting his burn. And I don't think you've dipped to that level of concern since, right, Taff?
I've had a couple of slower months since then, but no, we were really at a spot before the light switch flipped that Noah was looking at potential part-time jobs he could help me line up, where I would just wake up at like 6 a.m, stream, and then in stream and instantly walk into like a 9, not a 9 to 5 gig, but like an hourly gig at
Bartending
night.
thing,
Yeah, I was looking at like maybe doing 7 days a week, 16-hour days, just to try to keep everything afloat right before the switch flipped. It was not dire, but it was getting scary.
Yeah, fair enough. So we heard blind faith is one potential strategy.
Yeah, blind faith. Sam, what you
not
got?
to overly summarize. What was it?
That's
a lot
it.
of really
Sorry.
helpful,
Yeah.
good information. No, but that context is all important to know.
I get windy. Yeah.
And I think blind faith is kind of a big part of any streamer's thing, because we do, especially if this is your job, this is your income, and you are putting your faith into those who are generous to you to potentially also still help keep you afloat in a sense. So that does become difficult. But like I was saying earlier, me in particular, because I don't make enough by myself to pay my bills. So I'm gratefully married to an amazing man who is our breadwinner, keeps these lights on. And I mostly rely on the fact that I have this kind of backbone. But I still want to keep it pretty minimal in how long my stretches are when it comes to raising for charity. I like doing many throughout the year, but maybe like a couple days here, a couple days in this month, a couple days in this month. And because I also do need to think about myself, and my brother is living with us, so I'm paying his bills as he's taking care of our son, so I can do this. So it's different in that sense for me, but I'm grateful to be in a position now that I do have very wonderful people in my community who are just like, Sam, let us know. Like, if you need the help, let us know. But we also really want to give to this, because last year, St. Jude, a lot of people were new to my community and did not know how important it was to give to St. Jude's. I mean, it's important to give to any charity, but during that time, Play Live season, they were just like, oh my gosh. And yeah, it's kind of like Taffy, like they made sure that I was balanced up, but we reached goals, and that was really, really cool. So I don't know, it's really how I balance it. I think about what days I'm gonna do it and how I'm gonna get the message across without pushing too hard to make people uncomfortable.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a tricky area.
Is it fair then to say that what you just told us was some of it balancing the time, specifically times at which you're doing it, so that it doesn't completely overwhelm sort of your month income wise, as well as knowing that you can lean on a spouse who can cover the bills, so you may take a bit of a hit, but you're one that you're willing to take, essentially.
Yeah, whenever I'm raising specifically, especially for St. Jude, I know that's going to be my lesser month. I already know that going in, because I want that to be more toward that. However, with this pandemic, it's a little different, and I'm going to be pretty strict on my charity time, because I know there's a lot of people hurting. So
yes.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of dovetails into the next question of when you first did some kind of fundraising, Sam, did you see that it had an effect on you, and what kind of effect did it have?
Like a personal effect?
Oh, no, not personal effect. Obviously, we all know the wonderful effect, help supporting a charity can have on a person. But I'm talking about in terms of a financial effect. Yeah, revenue. Did you see a dip or anything like that?
Oh,
and if so, like what did it look like?
Bad. just
Great.
Bad. But like, Taffy actually mentioned something that I never thought about, but you feel like almost a villain in a way. Because you feel kind of negative about, oh crap, I'm not able to bring this in and stuff like that, and so you may not want to push so hard. because you need to support your family in this way and stuff like that. And it's a hair-pulling game of trying to figure out what works for you, what works for your family, what works for your community.
Mhm.
It's a whole trifecta that's a mess sometimes.
Yeah, it's because if you think about it, if you do the on paper, well, I'm going to be fundraising for this, but I also have to balance with the community. You could almost feel as though you're in a conflict of interest situation,
Yes.
because if you think of it from the mindset of that dollar is going to go to one place, then you do put yourself in a sort of weird conflicts area.
Mhm.
I think that there's this is a personal opinion. I think that there is an element of, yes, that dollar might go there, but also the other effect you're going to have down the line, the intangible benefits of doing it are still huge.
Yep. And I can say from working with a good handful of streamers on exactly this kind of topic, you do see a hit. So for St. Jude Play Live, for instance, since it happens in May, you do see a hit in May, but oftentimes you also see a hit in June, right? Because if you went really hard, I mean, because you see people raising
Mhm.
high five, sometimes low six figures potentially, right? Like for this, not a ton, but a lot of money, enough money that it would be a good chunk of their annual income, all in one month, all to charity, not them, right? Well, not only does that mean that they learned less in that month, but also usually that next one as well, because their community's tapped out for a good cause, right? No one's complaining about being tapped out, but also people are prudent and they might be caught up in the moment or looking at really exciting, interesting incentives, because you guys are really good at coming up with incentives. But in my experience, this isn't something that you just plan for in May. If you're going really hard, this is something you plan for in May and June, or if you're planning, like if you're doing what Sam's talking about, where your planning work goes into not necessarily how do I deal with a reduced income for maybe a couple months, but it's how do I slot this into my monthly schedule so that it doesn't have that lasting effect. Because I mean, and I've talked about this with the St. Jude team, they don't want you to have one crazy year of fundraising and burn out and not be able to support yourself and never do it again, right? If you raised $10,000 in 1 month, but then weren't able to continue streaming because you couldn't pay your bills, they'd much rather have you raise, I'm sure, $1,000 10 times, right, as opposed to $10,000 once. Taffy, what kinds of things are you doing to prep yourself for a down month, even if it's not, even if you are still sort of covering bills? What are you doing to prep yourself for community might be a bit tapped out?
Well, I mean, it's it's helpful that Amber and I, my wife, Amber and I, with 2 theater degrees, have basically been professional poor people most of our lives.
That's the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? We're not new poor. We're old
Yeah,
poor.
we're old money
old
poor. We're old poor, and there are a lot of folks new poor, but we've been at this for a real long time. And even though I'm old enough at this point now where I've just seen far too many like artist of the year, like, fresh new face, rookie signs record contract deal, to go, oh, right. I know well enough to know that this money coming in isn't necessarily guaranteed to keep coming in. So Amber and I set, like, once we realized that I was making enough money to cover burn, we went through Noah and we went through trusted financial advisors and we set up an LLC, and I pay myself a regular salary out of the money that comes into the company. And for the most part, unless we find ways to budget it and have heart-to-heart conversations about what's important to be had, and like, medical bills or the quality of life upgrades around the house that really matter, things like that, I don't have wild fluctuations in what I spend, and there's a nest egg sitting in there. And it's for situations like this. If there's a month where I want to do heavy fundraising and I only make 60% of my burn for that month, that's okay. We can take that hit as long as we don't burn out, be over wring the sponge and burn out our community and then set ourselves up for like 4 slow months in a row. And even then, we're like, we sit on enough of it that we could even weather that if it happened. But that's my job, is to gauge and finesse and go, okay, you know what? Like, I can feel the fatigue. Let's back off the accelerator. It's a fine line to walk, because you don't want to feel like the person who double dips your community, even if it's for a good reason, because then it's almost worse. Like, you almost feel more terrible. It's one thing to say, hey chat, I want a yacht, and then whoever wants to get on board with buying you a yacht can do it. It's pretty out there, and they go, I'm not going to pay to get this idiot a yacht. But if you go, hey, like, I want to live and these sick kids want medicine, single tier, then it's like, now you're kind of a butthole. Like, you can be if you push it too hard.
The social guilt.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it really is just, I'm living month to month as though the trapdoor is going to fall out at any given minute. And so having a charity month come up, that's just that reason for, that's just May's reason. That's just May's reason for why the trapdoor could fall out. Any other given month, it could just be I stop being funny, or, you know, I get canceled because of some dumb thing that slipped out of my head, or something. Like, just at any given moment, you know, I'm the athlete who could blow out his knee and it can be done.
You
so
can Alex Smith it.
Right. And I live like that anyway. So adjusting it to say this is because a fundraising month is coming is just changing a variable out, really.
Yeah.
And so what I heard there was sort of ahead of time acknowledging with you and your spouse, this may be a month where you dip. B, emergency fund set up so that you could weather that, and potentially even an extra month if you did actually do the overring, and overringing your community, like you said. And then sort of that last point of, and actually being conscientious while you're doing it and adapting in case it feels like things are going a bit overboard. Does that sound?
You have to be able to audible it. And yes, and of course, you know, if you're doing something that affects more than just yourself, if you're not like a single person providing for yourself, if there's significant others or children or whatever, like it's smart to weigh that in, because a lot of it, like it would be disingenuous if you said that it didn't feel good to be the person who perpetuates this. Like we get to be, it's an incredibly ingratiating moment to be able to be the hub that helps to generate all this good. There's so much crap and bad out in the world that to be able to be a person that slingshots this like nice out into the world feels good. But you also have to be conscious. Like, it's cool to be on the top of the St. Jude leaderboard. It's cool to see your name up there with all these like really heavy hitter Twitch profiles out there, and people that you admire and do this really well. But you don't want to do it at the expense of just like bludgeoning your community to death to you know, wrench every last dollar out of them that you can.
Yeah, and so one of the questions that I know that we might get later, based on what we've done, we've talked a lot about how you can plan for a down month in May and June ahead of time. What if you're sitting here, Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you, and you decide today, hey, I'm gonna fundraise for St. Jude. This is something I'm gonna hop into. What kind of advice do you have for that kind of person specifically? Maybe Sam, do you have any advice that you toss to that person?
Repeat it.
No worries. Second podcast of the day. So basically, if I decided today I'm going to fundraise for St. Jude, yes, how would you go about recommending to that person or me that I go about minimizing the effect on my income but still being able to fundraise? What tips do you have?
Realistic goals. Set goals that you would think that you personally could reach, and then stretch goals are just even prettier. So yeah, set goals and then make incentives that are fun, that you enjoy. Don't shove 100 Bean Boozles in your mouth every $5 because you're gonna be sick in 2 seconds. So
Galen has a pretty cheap incentive.
Yeah, I don't have any viewers, so I have to make the threshold low, right? There's the supply-demand thing here.
Oh,
There's
no.
not much supply.
Oh,
You gotta
no.
do what you can to pump demand.
What is it?
$15 durian fruit.
Not
Are
durian
you
fruit.
ready?
It's a durian. It's a durian candy, which is terrible for the record.
Yeah. I saw him have 2 back-to-back in a 5-minute span.
I may
They're
have to go
awful.
that route. I owe my chat durian from last year, and I was just kind of putting it off until
Well, there you go, candy for him.
now. And now I don't feel comfortable going to a supermarket to try
Yeah.
to find a fresh durian. So
Last
I might
year,
have to go the candy route.
I would say last year the candies are awful. They're hard candies too, which
Oh,
is the
good.
worst. So they just
Thanks.
sit there. Last year, at one point, Goobers 515 rated me at the end of his stream, and his community is very much pay the funny man to do funny things, and so they had me basically doing chubby bunny with these. It was awful.
Oh God.
For those of you at home who don't know what that means he stuffed them in his cheeks like a chipmunk and then had to swallow them, which is hilarious because they make you smell very bad.
Stinky.
Yeah. But yeah, so setting a realistic goal is something that's huge, I think, Sam. So that's a really good point. For example, last year I set a realistic goal of $500. And then if you keep going and you just hit that goal and set the next realistic goal, after that was 1,000 and 1,500. And then at that point I said, screw it, I'm going to go for 5,000. And we hit it, but it was close. I couldn't have done it without a little bit of help from having way too much hot sauce and licking Taffy's elbow.
That's also another thing, though,
Mhm.
that you need to make sure not to compare yourself
Right.
to what other people raise. I did that very heavily during my block of the Guardian Con fundraising.
Oh,
Well, first off,
wow.
I was in a dead hour, which really sucked, and I also raised less than 90% of the other creators, and it really hit me. But then I remembered I just raised $4,000 for St. Jude that they
Yeah.
didn't have an hour ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it took me a minute to like get it together and realize that that does not put value on you, but holy heck, you've done so much good. Because what's $3 do? Face mask.
It's a face
Yeah.
mask, yeah.
$3.
Got
Very important.
I think those are actually on the black market for a little bit more now.
Yeah.
But
From a production standpoint too, like hitting small goals and then upping your stretch is much more entertaining and it's much more invigorating than
Feels
somebody.
good.
Yeah, it feels good. Like you're grabbing rungs on a ladder, and when there's nothing more ingratiating, and there's nothing that gets people fired up like seeing people achieve small, reasonable goals, and then getting worked up into something a little bit larger. And so if you come into a stream with 10, 15, 20 viewers, and the person's got it set to $250,000, and it's just kind of like, oh well. Like
Yeah.
you already feel kind of defeated going in.
Yeah.
So like my first campaign was I think I had it at $2,500 and we hit that in the first day. Worth putting out there, somebody in a similar situation, my buddy Brizzy, we've been trying to get him to fundraise for years, and he's always just been terrified that it would eat away too much of what he could make to support his family. And he fundraised for the first time for St. Jude today with a $1,000 goal for the month, and signed off at $2,100 for St. Jude in the first day.
Mhm.
And I want to say, like, I don't want to out the number, but I was doing the math. A comparable number for himself, where people said, this is so you don't sink. And so this man who's kind of been fighting his desire to want to fundraise for years finally gave into it today at a time that it's still pretty scary for him. Like he's still,
Yeah.
He's been going through some game transitions that have been, rough finding his footing again, but he threw caution to the wind and absolutely crushed it today. So
That's awesome. That's incredible.
Extremely proud of
and it
him.
was the same thing where it was a small attainable goal that was meant to be his 30-day goal, and he got that doubled up and then some in the first 3.5 hours of his stream.
I mean,
So
I was thrilled that I raised $500 last year. Like,
Yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't, because again, you have to know what's reasonable for you. As someone who, on the rare days when I do stream, and it can be months between streams that aren't your brand, your business, I think I have like 5 concurrents or something, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you are doing even better this year, which I think is amazing. So good for you.
I think I have, let's see, Woo, $135. 10 of which was me fixing an issue with how I had Tiltify synced to Streamlabs. But
So
Oh,
I
I've had that
Self-starter.
happen.
yeah, I've got I actually have a question that kind of plays along with this, and this is a nice little segue into some Q&A we've got. But from one of our viewers, Fried Mice in chat, that is my father, in fact.
My
He
father, in fact.
texted me. With so much interesting financial stuff out there around this time, should you lower your expectations and goals? Is it truly realistic to expect to exceed last year's goals? I think that's a great question.
I personally, I always kind of live on the side of expect the unexpected. Like, don't expect to do so much, but you know, it's exciting when it happens. However, this year is very different in a lot of ways. So I think for me personally, my goal will probably be a bit smaller, just because I see things that are occurring and the struggles and stuff like that. It kind of varies year to year for sure. I mean, because even next year, I could fall off the face of the earth and then come back to streaming and be like, probably won't get close to that goal. Let's do like $10. So every year is very different. But yes.
I know for me, it, like I set a higher goal than last year, and that's mainly because I have a few different sources that I'm outreaching to. I've got a better plan this year. That said, I'm terrified going in that maybe I won't hit it, and so it's definitely a consideration, especially given the current times. That said, I've gone in with a plan. I know that I'm going to tap this resource, and this resource, where, quite frankly, some of them are completely off of Twitch that are just know that I'm fundraising for St. Jude this month through social networks. And that's one piece of advice I'd love to throw out there is, hey, guys, if you are concerned about reaching a goal, remember that you don't have to just fundraise online through your chat. You can also hit up your social networks too. There's a good support network out there.
I went bananas on that my first year, man. I plumbed aunts and uncles and cousins like that. That was I was determined to represent as best I could, and that what was the first slide of the second year that I went to was the most proud beggars on the internet. At Play Live, and so it is one of those things where zero shame about who I asked. I didn't ask aggressively. I didn't ask more than once, but I threw a wide net just because I probably had almost $1,000 come in that first year from like aunts and uncles and cousins who didn't know that when they were donating that there was an alert going off on a stream somewhere because they weren't in chat. They like saw a Facebook post and they're like, yeah, we gotcha. Or like my mom went and twisted arms and was just like, you're gonna give $100 to my son's thing, and I was like, yeah, mom, go get him, sick him.
Holy crap,
Alpha Karen. Sorry, I heard that and was like, oh yeah, that's good. Do that. Don't just do it in your stream. Get anybody from anywhere.
And while they're at it, make sure they remember that if they have Amazon Prime, they have a Twitch Prime sub, and they can also support you that way.
There you go.
Have you heard of Twitch Prime?
It's definitely good to do that kind of outreach because, like, for instance, my business coach who never watches Twitch because she has no interest in it, no reason to, kind of a thing, found it hilarious to make me eat spicy jerky, right? Like, she watched literally from the donate page on Tiltify because it has the stream embedded, and I don't think she's ever been to my actual Twitch stream, but she could see it there, and she thought it was really funny that she could have me do that, right? So it doesn't even have to be people who are, like you're saying, natively on Twitch and know what the hell it is that you're doing. Could just be people who like watching you suffer.
Yeah, I mean that's most people in the case of if you're a financial planner or a lawyer. So
exactly.
So I want to make sure we get to a couple of the questions while we're here. We got 3 more. So this one sounds like a good one for Galen. Galen, how does doing charity events complicate your taxes at the end of the year, or does it at all? This is more of an earnest question, but you're here. So.
Yeah, so if you do it correctly, it doesn't impact your taxes at all. If you do it incorrectly, like I had a client have someone else tell them to do it, it can really fuck you, to put it plainly.
Oh, God.
You should never touch the money when you're doing charity fundraising. I mentioned Tiltify as a platform that I use for it. Use a platform that specializes in charity fundraising where you are not touching the money, because if you touch the money, then it is income to you, and your ability to write it off as an expense is based on there's edges to this, but it's based on essentially, are you itemizing your taxes, which, if you're a single individual, that means you had more than $12,200 that you got donated to you. And even at that point, it still might be worse off than having never touched the money and just taking the standard deduction and so on and so forth. But so the answer is never touch the money, use a platform like Tiltify, and then it won't impact you.
Sam,
it's really not
question
good.
in the back.
Yeah. Sorry.
We're like a comment
Go for it.
on that, because I did that once.
Ouch.
Allegedly.
It was, yeah, allegedly. Sorry. Okay. For Leif's first stream, so the Kids Heart Challenge evidently would only go through your child's link that listed their full name and their school. I'm not about that.
Yeah.
So what I allegedly did
Oh, no.
was I had them donate to
Allegedly.
my PayPal, allegedly, and then I donated it to his fund, but I did not write it off on my taxes at all. I didn't touch that because I figured that was illegal.
That's illegal.
However, if you guys are parents in chat and you have kids who participate in the Kids Heart Challenge, I want to let you know that as of this year, I was the first one to test it out. But you can raise through Tiltify for the AHA, and they will personally transfer the money to your child's account. So it is just between you and basically your liaison.
Good.
That's amazing.
So
That's
Leif
really good to
got
hear.
all of his money legally.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's
so
good
the
to
answer
hear.
is just don't touch the money.
Don't touch the money.
If you do, it can actually definitely hurt you on the tax side.
So another question, do you ever ask your community for input on what targets are good to attempt, or just calculate what's safe and later based on past performance? Do you ever, so basically the question is, do you have a conversation with the community of, hey guys, what do we think we can do?
No.
Nope.
Cool. Good answer. All right. And this one's more from me. Any potential contract obligations for charity fundraising that could be discussed, like where you can promote, etc. So there are not too many contract obligations that I would throw out there. I will say that you need to be very careful who you work with, because charity is something that is easily exploited. And so there's a lot of paid opportunities to fundraise. And while there's nothing wrong with being necessarily, it's up to you whether it's on your moral compass to be paid to fundraise. There are certain organizations that don't properly take in money. They touch the money, unlike we just talked about. And so you don't necessarily want to work with those organizations. When it comes down to streaming for those kinds of activations, you need to make sure that if you are being paid to stream a fundraiser, that you are not signing any exclusivity, which prevents you from working with other platforms. For example, if platform A is doing a paid activation where you are going to fundraise for COVID relief or something like that, and you are also going to be fundraising for, No Kid Hungry on this other platform, there could be something in that paid opportunity that prevents you from actually working through that other platform. And you never want to sign that kind of thing, because it will limit your ability to fundraise and limit your ability to work with other people. So that's just reading your contracts for exclusivity. Unfortunately, it's out there, but you do need to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Yep. Did we have other questions that came in? Because if not,
I saw a comment from Whirl.
Yeah, Whirl. Shout out to Whirl, the best bot in the world.
One of my mods. But he was mentioning how many communities fundraise during the same time, which is another factor to consider with community burnout. because it's true. Like, I share a lot of the same community members as a lot of my friends who are also raising for like St. Jude during Play Live season. So that's where the realistic goal comes into play as well, because you have to understand that people may want to help their 3 favorite streamers get their goals.
Right.
And so people also are not exclusive to you. That is something to be very aware of.
Yeah.
But that was a really good comment that I saw that I didn't think of.
I think that that's incredibly important to think about, especially given, quite frankly, where you're at right now. You're going to be fundraising for COVID tomorrow. And you're also in Play Live month, and there's also No Kid Hungry, and there's a million things that you can contribute to and fundraise for. And so burnout is a serious concern.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that, these causes will be there. And, every dollar helps. But that also means that if you're around later on to fundraise, that dollar later on is just going to be as valuable as it is now.
Yeah. Another way to potentially fundraise, if you don't want to specifically dip your own income in a sense, is to reach out to people who you might see doing some kind of production to raise all together for this. Sure, it's not like glorifying your name, but that shouldn't matter.
No.
You can do so many different things. So like tomorrow I'm raising for COVID. I've done Red Nose Day. I like to do these movie script readings with little cameos, and we're raising money all throughout it because it's hilarious. But there are different ways to go about it than just like, all right guys, this is our goal and this is what I'm raising for. Here's an incentive. I'll eat a warhead. So there are other ways if you so happen would like to not just do it on your channel, because I personally like going out as well and doing that, and I am grateful. I'm grateful that I'm blessed enough to be able to do that now.
You came on to one of my fundraisers for No Kid Hungry and supported it that way, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think, and I mean, this month, that's what we're going to be doing with the rest of these Your Brand Your Business shows.
Yeah,
Ernest,
actually,
Noah,
so this is a good time to talk about that, Galen, if you want to.
Just basically that over the next 3 weeks, Ernest, Noah, and I are going to be doing St. Jude fundraising in lieu of this show, because it is something that is quite important to all of us. And we have found, especially like we were talking about with none of us being streamers as our primary gig, we've found that doing things together using our combined networks goes a lot further towards helping this cause that we want to help. I don't remember who has which week off the top of my head.
I have the last week.
Oh, you have the last week? Okay.
Which is going to suck because now I'm scheduled to do that show on Monday, then doing 2 live performances of a radio play the next 2 days. So it's going to be a huge week.
So my weekend now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing a Sam.
Very soon.
There you go. I think Ernest is next week, and if not, then I have some planning to do for myself. But yeah, it's a really good way to do it. And I mean, frankly, like I said, we like we were saying, we don't have the same presence on Twitch, but a lot of our clients do. And so if you're talking about leaning on your network, some of us are gonna be like, hey, client who people actually know who the hell you are, mind if we do something together for a good cause?
Yeah.
Yeah, like play Pummel Party together.
We did that last year. It was a lot of
so
fun.
much fun.
Yeah.
That's how we raised a lot for No Kid Hungry.
We raised almost $500 for No Kid Hungry doing that 3 weeks ago, and we're gonna do it again soon.
I'm here for it. You just let me know.
Thursday, let's do it. All right. So anyways, guys, I think that kind of wraps us. Did we have anything else that we wanted to chat about? Any questions you see coming, Galen?
Nothing. No.
Are there legal requirements with regard to giveaways or incentives for
we go.
fundraising?
Good one.
So yes, but you should definitely consult a lawyer because that's an entire show into itself. I'm sorry, world. That's the best answer I can give you. But yes, so if you're doing an incentive or incentives, not as much, but with giveaways, there's always some sort of legal you need to be aware of. So I would be happy, and if you were doing a fundraiser and you were looking to do a giveaway or an incentive for it, reach out to me. I will talk to you every single time. That's a free consult. I want to make sure that you're able to have the tools you need to do that giveaway, and so that you don't put yourself at legal risk for it. So I will talk to you for free 100% of the time to walk through it, especially when it's for a cause like St. Jude, No Kid Hungry, etc. So always feel free to reach out for that.
So to what Taffy was saying in chat, when we got on this call to test audio video, I was nearing the end of a Hearthstone Battlegrounds match, but I did
my
time
God.
it so that I would finish before we went live. So
Smart.
yeah.
Right.
Salty saw me with that 1,000-yard stare, and I was saying before I got on today that it's been a really, really good day, but yeah, I'm battling through some fatigue, and I made the mistake of opening up social media and,
that'll do
saw
it.
it. I rabbit holed a bad thing. It was like, like
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's go out on a good note
Yeah.
then. So,
My
Taffy,
bad.
where can people find you on the internet?
Oh God! Listen, it's a commitment, so don't tread into my channel lightly.
Jesus.
It's a thing. I'm serious. I feel like people should know what they're getting into. Some of my viewers are in chat, and you know what you do to folks. So it's blood in, blood out. It's some real stuff. So twitch.tv/McLaffyTaffy. If you really like The Binding of Isaac, or you really like intense memes, we're not a cult, and if the ATF shows up, especially, we're not a cult, but
They got at
ATF
least
specifically.
one decent lawyer in chat, and I'm also there.
yeah, so specifically if an Asian Hostetler shows up, we are super not a cult, but beyond that, we are kind of culty. It's a lot of fun. We got good people. We're kind of a really well kept secret on the internet, but it's starting to slip a little bit. I don't know if I feel great or bad about it, but it's a fun place to hang out. My community is a bigger draw than even I am at this rate. So come chill. It's a good time.
Cool. Sam, where can people find you?
On the internet.
Yeah.
Don't come to me in person. I'll beat you up.
Yeah, no, don't come to her in person. I'll beat you up.
My husband will beat you up too.
Yeah.
Twitch.tv/Seum. It's like the word museum.
Without the move.
Yes. Once again, my content is definitely much more family friendly. And I'm very very much engulfed in Animal Crossing right now. So like if you want to catalog some stuff with me, you just gotta let me know.
Cool.
But not either that, but also tomorrow, if you guys can, raising for COVID, if you guys want to come out to the COVID event, I'm pretty sure it's just on twitch.tv _aid.
They can check your Twitter for it later.
There you go.
Which is just Sam. But yeah, always a pleasure.
Cool. And Galen, where can they find you?
If I've got my name spelled right here, and if you can copy and paste or just accurately type, you'll find me. Because the good news about that pain in the ass name is that I'm pretty easy to find once you have it spelled well. I run a firm called Buff Your Finances. So buffyourfinances.com, or on Twitter I'm at GalenHDEC. And then beyond that, it's 4:30. I am going to try to do about an hour or so of St. Jude streaming directly after this on my channel, which is twitch.tv/Chickenators. Noah.
So we have the One of Us cult going in chat right now. You can find me on the internet at my lawyer friend on Twitter. That's the most relevant place. You can also follow me on Twitch. I will be going live. My dance card is filling up, so I will be live a lot this month fundraising for St. Jude. Some of the things that we've got coming up on that plate are I'm going to be playing Pummel Party with friends, including at least 3 of the people that are in this call with me. Since there's only 3 other people, you know that all of them will be. I'm going to be doing a live radio play originally written with the Firehouse Radio Players, and that's going to be the last week of May. And then doing a general AMA in case anybody wants to ask a lawyer a question that they didn't want to pay for. You can still pay for it, just pay St. Jude.
I got told by compliance that I can't do that.
I know, but I wasn't. So, and other than that,
compliance.
I know. So, Twitter, Twitch, those are the relevant places. I work for the law firm of Morrison Rothman. We have a good time. And I'm a lawyer.
Perfect. All right. Well, I didn't see any other questions come in right now. We've got a cult to run from. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much. Hopefully this helped you learn a bit more about how folks can balance some really important topics, including fundraising for charity, which is amazing, and actually paying yourself so that you can do full-time streaming, which is amazing.
Yep.
We will be back next week, I believe.
We will be back
Ernest.
next week.
No, I believe it's Ernest, so Warbnell, who is taking the helm on that, so that we can do St. Jude fundraising for the rest of this month. All right.
Cool.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.